All right, it says live up at the corner.
Okay. I think it means we're live. I'm gonna go on my phone real quick and check that we are actually streaming. But yeah. Oh, the Saber Legion is live. I'm gonna go on my phone real quick and I'm gonna get feedback.
No worries. It sounds like it is working.
I think so. All right.
Excellent.
Very cool. All right, now we just gotta, share everywhere in the world.
Yeah, bear with us while we get this all set up, everyone.
Do, 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 do. All right. Shared a bunch of places.
You shared it for already?
I didn't see it.
I got it.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, TSL.
Hello, TSL. Yes. So here's our little chat called Director's Chat. Hope you guys are as excited as we are for
TSL5. Absolutely. Welcome to the road to TSL5.
Indeed.
We're less than a month away at this point, right?
It is. It is 27 days and counting.
Excellent. I can't wait to see people out there. This is going to be a great time.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you've been doing this for a long time now. So you've been OG since TSL1. So
absolutely. Haven't missed one yet. I've been at all of them. This will be the first time one. However, I am not in charge of planning it. However, so you and the sports management team are heading that up with the rest of the council, backing you guys all up on that. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
Well, we are too. Actually, it's funny. If you look right over here, this is my little getting ready station, so I'm already starting to put everything to bring or to mail to you as you're graciously driving some stuff for us, and including the new women's trophy. Ta-da, ta-da.
That's awesome. I love it.
Very cool. Very cool. Can you see comments from audience on?
Yeah, I do see Mark and JC both said hello. And
cool.
Yep. Mark just says he hopes it goes well. I have no doubts. I have 100% faith in everybody out there that's doing that. They're mostly people that I know, and I know that you guys are putting in great work, and I'm excited to see what you do. So it'll be fun to be a participant this year instead of the organizer. I'm really excited.
I'm excited because I think that it's just such a wonderful blessing that we can all get together and kind of take a moment to come to our new normal of, being able to get together safely. And I think that it's just going to be I don't know, like a deep release of air, waiting to exhale kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's going to be so nice after, a year and a half, basically. So it's going to be great to just be with our peeps again, our TSL family out there, just having fun, building community, and of course, fighting some saber fights. The tournament is definitely what brings us together. But like I've always said, the tournament is merely the activity that we do to bring ourselves together as a community. So as always, the part I'm most excited for is seeing people that, I haven't seen. And, in some cases, it might be 2.5 years because I might not have seen some of these people since the last TSL event, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it'll be a long time. So I'm excited. And absolutely, Mark, hopefully we get in an exotics rematch. That'll be awesome. I'm definitely signed up for it. So
that's true. This year, you're actually participating in both standard and exotics.
I am indeed.
So how are you feeling about that?
Oh, I think it'll be great. I mean, I still stand by the same thing that I say when I fight with people at meets and everything. The game of TSL, the rules of TSL that we play is not necessarily what I excel at as far as my weapon expertise goes, but I always have a great time. And so that's what I'm just looking for, is to show up, have a good time, some good matches, some great camaraderie, maybe a few hugs for whoever's comfortable with that. And yeah, I'm just excited to be there.
Awesome. Me too. I really am. So we thought it would be just a great idea. So Aaron and I, and of course David, are the 3 national directors. We have full charge counselors as well as CIT. So if you don't know what those mean, real quick, so we have the national directors who are over the entire directing program, and we all specialize in different aspects of training for the TSL program. Or media. So David, of course, runs our media team. I run the sports management team, and I also run the training of all the line judges and the CITs. And then Aaron, of course, has always been over all of our gear regulations, and he is the all-knowing Oz. And of course, he wrote the entire rule set from its infancy. So there are... you have amazing opportunity here to ask lots and lots of questions, anything that you've wanted to know and just need to know. So feel free to ask in our comments section here, and we'll be happy to get back to you. But today, what we're really trying to focus on for the road to CombatCon is a question that people have always asked. How do you line judge and how do you direct? Like, how do you do those things? And what are the importance of sportsmanship? So real briefly, let's just talk about the beginning part. Let's talk about when you get into the ring and just being a good sportsmanship.
Absolutely. So as always, TSL is founded essentially on the foundation of being 3 main things: being fun, safe, and inclusive, right? So while we have a competition and it's easy to get in your head about it's important to win, and absolutely that's what a competition at the end is about. It's about challenging yourself and rising to the top. But it's most important to realize that we're there together. Competition comes from Latin roots of comptere, which actually means to go with, not to go against, right? So the idea is we're all on this journey of improvement and progress together. So every match, whether you win or lose, is an opportunity to make a relationship, to improve your craft, to improve your skills. So it's just awesome to be able to get in there and do it together. So within our rule set, there are things that you always want to make sure you do. At the beginning, when you enter the match, the director will tell you when, but you want to make sure to pay respects to your fighter, pay respects to your judges, both before and after the match, just to make sure that everybody's in that mindset, that we're a community. And at the end of this, it's most important that we remain friends when it's done.
Absolutely. And so I think this year, one of the things we discussed at TSL4 is when we had the pools tournament, we always had people saluting at the beginning and saluting at the end. There was a lot of saluting. So I think what we had discussed to save time was to potentially just have you salute as all the pool entries, all the fighters for that pool enter the ring. All of them will salute the score and the judges, all of that, and then just save the individual one for their opponent in that time. So that's something to know if you are going to CombatCon about entering and exiting the ring. Technically, in the rules, it's supposed to be both.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But like you said,
so excited at the end, I think they just sometimes run out.
Absolutely. That happens a lot. And as long as you're still paying that respect to your fighter, we're never going to harp on you about that additional one to the judges, because everybody's just there to have a good time.
Right. Most of the salutes end up as hugs anyway. So
100%, which is what TSL's about. It's that camaraderie, that friendship. So I know I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about what an honor call is, going right off and from the whole idea of good sportsmanship. Let's talk about what is an honor call and how that affects what the director says in the ring.
Absolutely. So one of the big things to remember about TSL is that we give you the power to essentially accept or decline something that has happened that may not necessarily have been called. You're fighting along and you felt yourself get hit in the arm, but the director does not call a hold and points were not raised. You have the ability to say, no, he got me here. Or if a point is given to you, but you know that that person got you first, you felt it underneath your arm or, on the back of your hand, and they saw the bigger hit up on your shoulder, you can say, hey, he got me first. That was definitely that person's point here, right? And also, if you get awarded a point that you feel you did not earn, where you're pretty positive maybe it hit the fingers and they're awarding you for hitting the wrist, you can say, I'd like to decline that point. So you can always bring up a call as it's come across across as an honor call to say, hey, this is what I saw and how it happened. So it's definitely encouraged to help everybody in those matches, have a good, clean fight, a fight you can feel good about, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and honor calls are just great in the ring because honestly, a lot of times, as a fighter, you're going to feel the impact way faster than some people can register it in their eyes even. Some people fight so fast, especially with exotics, and you got dual wields, sometimes dual wield versus dual wield. So you got 4 sabers going. It can get incredibly complicated. So honor calls are always super appreciated. I think the only note would be that, they're not mandatory, right? Like you don't have to try to call it. And honestly, ultimately, the ring director in the ring is the person who's going to be making that ultimate decision, about who receives the points. So it happens.
100%. So just to throw in a comment here, I don't know if you can see the chats on the side or if I'm the only one who can see it, but Mark did respond to Ike. Ike had asked if we have newbie matches. And at TSL5 in the tournament, the idea is that we mix and match all of our fighters together. We don't have a separate pool or bracket that separates people out by experience, right? We do have some brackets that separate out by exotics, by over 50, the women's tournament, those kind of brackets that we do separate. But other than that, the idea is for us to all get together and to fight together so that our better fighters and our newer fighters, our longtime fighters, veterans, all those people get a chance to fight one another, because we've always sort of lived by the mantra on there that you get to know each other better when you fight somebody, right? How you fight one another. And it's just a great opportunity to improve. So yeah, we do not separate out by skill levels. Everybody fights together at the TSL international tournaments that we have in Vegas.
Right. And you actually are very fond of calling this the every person tournament or the everyman tournament, right? So that Absolutely. All fighters are equal in the ring. I know that I've screamed out to some of my fellow competitors, like, a fighter is a fighter, because sometimes they'll feel like they can't, fight full on because it's, someone who is a beginner or whatever. And it's like, you want to give every fighter the best experience in the ring, right? Like, you want to find a great way to, do your own sport or art, however it is that you fight in the ring, and also provide that same awesome experience for someone. So you have to fight as true as you can, because it is the every person tournament. We see all people as equal.
Yep, absolutely. And that's a great response to that, Mark, as well. Is that it would be really hard to actually write down rules regarding who is considered an experienced fighter and a newbie fighter as well. I mean, beyond just saying length of time you've been a member of TSL, it'd be really difficult to do that as well. And since we're about building community, the last thing we want to do is try and find a bunch of rules to write about finding a way to divide people up into groups, right? We always want to come together. That's what TSL is about.
Right. We do have some specialty tournaments at national tournaments. So we do have the standard tournament is what TSL was founded on, the single saber, the LED saber, single saber in the ring. That's the foundation and the tradition that carries on through the culture that we've built in the community. But there have been add-ons which have included an exotics tournament, and now there is a 50 and over tournament, as well as a women's tournament, which is returning this year. And actually next year, there'll be 2 new tournaments, which we're not going to talk about yet, but, big release after TSL5, there's going to be a returning tournament and a brand new tournament that we've already started working on for TSL6. So it'll be some exciting stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, Ike asked what kind of equipment must a person have. So this particular call, we are definitely trying to focus on the directing and line judging. But if you haven't had a chance to look at our rule set, Ike, those are absolutely available for download. It should be in the files section of our main group. Definitely get that and look that over. You can also ask your charter reps as well as ask in the chat group itself, and we could really hammer down into specifics. But to give you a quick overview, obviously you need to have a saber that's approved, a heavy grade blade, a saber that will stand up, no PVC handles or anything like that. Then you have to protect your head, neck, shoulders, chest, back, elbows, gloves, knees, and shins. You also have to wear some sort of groin protection based on what's appropriate for gender, for lots of different things go into grain protection. That's a whole. But yeah, that's the quick overview of the gear you have to fight to fight safely in TSL.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great thing. If you actually go into the search bar at the top of the group and you just type in gear, you can actually see lots of information that's been posted historically. There's gear guides. There's all kinds of ideas of what, are good ideas if you need help purchasing things. So just go to the top of the search bar, right up there at the top of our group in the main page, and type in gear, and you're going to get a flood of information. So moving on so we've talked about honor and we talked about sportsmanship. Let's talk about the boop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want to start this one off, or do you want me to just keep taking lead after?
Well, the boop was created at TSL1, which I technically was not at, although I am very familiar with the creator.
Absolutely. That's true. So in TSL rules, when they were written, one of the things that we were originally trying to write into our rules was the concept of that when a lightsaber touches something, it just simply cuts, right? It doesn't necessarily need what people consider like martial form or a cutting edge, like when you're cutting through tatami or bamboo or something with an edged weapon, right? In the movies, you see just a simple quick hit with a lightsaber. It's an energy blade. It cuts it off. So the rules are written to where we fight simply to the touch, right? All the saber has to do is touch you, and we would consider that doing enough damage to count as a point, right? Is essentially what the idea is from. And then at TSL1, there was a particular moment, a particular move. One of our fighters had a propensity to shoot for the legs. He had a max length weapon. He'd go into one hand, so he had a really long reach, and he would lunge way forward, and he would just go for people's legs. And this individual he was fighting against just jumped up over the top and just barely touched him on the top of the helmet. A nice controlled hit, didn't get him too hard, but it was just the gentlest of whap right on top of the head, and it got given the nomenclature of the boop at that event by some of the attendees, and that name has just stuck ever since TSL1, that those light touches that we allow to score points as the boop. So in all of our TSL rules, just always remember that the boop is enough to score, and really that's all you need. We're never trying to clobber each other or to go at full speed. We're just trying to hit with nice controlled hits. It doesn't mean you have to go slow. You just have to attack with control. One of the biggest things people forget about equating in that is the idea of over swinging, right? You just need to swing to your target. As soon as you hit, you've scored your point, right? So if you're aiming for somebody's shoulder, your hand shouldn't end down pointing behind you back here with the tip of your blade, because you're hitting way too hard, right? So you can still hit fast, but stop when you hit your target.
Mark thinks all fights were to first blood, though.
Yeah, that would be a Mark version of the rules, I think. But I believe you are reading one of your treatises from Stand and Stab and are getting that confused with TSL rules.
Excellent. Yes, to first boop, as Grady says. Yes, first boop instead. Yes. And I agree. It is part of the fandom, right? So we have this amazingness that TSL incorporates, basically the MMA of sword fighting. So the MMA of sword fighting, where all of the different versions of all the different trainings that people have had, whether they've been trained or not, can get into the ring. And basically we give this unifying, piece of equipment, which is the LED Saber, and put them all up against each other. And so you don't have to cut all the way through, because it's not you're not trying to mimic a great sword or, a sword that will cut completely through bamboo, right? So an LED Saber is the representation of the, like a laser, right? So you wouldn't necessarily have to cut through completely with a laser to score a point. So I think that's great. So this has all been great. So we have boobs. I got notes. All right. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the directors that are going to be in the ring. So there is national directors, which of course, like I said, was Aaron, David, and myself. And then from the training program, graduates who are full charge consulars. Full charge consulars within TSL are EJ, from California. We have Hannah, Jessica, we have Tiffany from Florida, and we have Clint, who will be in attendance. EJ also might be in attendance, I think. And I know I'm missing somebody. Oh, no, wait. No, we got Clint. Yeah, I go. So, okay. So I think that's it. Someone's going to hit me up later, like, you forgot me. But, and then we have CITs, which are people who are training to become directors. Now, because of the year that we were closed for COVID, almost all of our training directors have all of their actual lessons accomplished. They actually have experiential points that they have to do to earn, right? They have to have the experience. So they have all like the theory and philosophy of why we direct and how we direct and the rule set, but they just now going to be coming to TSL5 to actually put that in the ring. And some of those will be Jameis, Tony Safiati, Seth Clendenning, Aaron Rackala. Once again, I'm forgetting somebody, but I should have wrote them all down. But we have like these amazing directors, and it's so different, right? From each year, we've grown the directing team from TSL1 and 2 that you did completely independently the entire thing. Yep. The TSL3, where I think I was joined on with you, and I think maybe Kay at that point.
Yeah, Kay was on with us at that point too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then TSL4, I think Tom was also, and David was also part of the team at that point. So each year, and then also TSL5, we also had Jess and Clint come in as CITs at that point.
Yep.
Who did their training hours on. So it's been this great team that's really built, and we have just an amazing staff who sacrifice their own time and energy to do this. So let's talk a little bit about the line judging, because people are always super nervous to get in the ring and start doing the line judging. So maybe we should talk about that. And we have a little exercise planned. So let me turn the computer around maybe while you take a second to talk about it. Promo us up.
Absolutely. So yeah, so Mel gets ready and sets up on the thing. Let's talk a little bit about line judging. So the first thing you can do with line judging is make sure you get a copy of those rules and read the rules fairly closely so that you understand what does and does not score a point, what counts as a simultaneous hit, all those kind of things, as well as learning some of the basic terminology. But to give you a quick overview of essential line judging, it's when two people enter the ring and a count happens and the director will say hold. But director saying hold is not necessarily a prerequisite of you calling a point that you've seen. So as a line judge, when you see a point, basically we want you to look down and raise the baton for what you saw. The reason we want you to look down is human beings are pack animals on an instinctual level, and it's really easy to look around if you saw the blue fighter and you see three people holding up the red baton for you to second guess yourself. And we don't want any of that to happen. Call what you saw, right? We're all human beings. Just call what you threw out and what you've seen, because you may be the only person on the side of the fight that saw that hit that actually landed first, right? So that's the idea of the line judges, is to be able to help the director in the ring be able to see what's actually happening. So that's a quick overview of essentially what we want you to do. But they're set up for their exercise. So we're going to blow up to kind of show you what that looks like, right? So we're going to assume I'm the director and they are in the ring. So my fighters have entered the rings. Fighters, please pay respects to your fighter. Fighters ready? And fight. Hold. All right, so our line judge is holding two batons straight up in the air. According to our rules, that lets us know that he saw something that was not allowed in TSL rules. That is something that goes outside of what we accept as something that's acceptable. I also saw that. Seeing a thrust to the midsection is not a scoreable hit that we allow. Thrusts are only allowed to the masks, the chests, the arms, and below the knees, right? Basically, everything from your pecs to your kneecaps is a slashing only target. So that has to hit with the side of the blade. Since that score hit with the tip squarely in the gut, while that hit, we did want the fight to stop. No points will be awarded, and a verbal warning will be given to our fighter, in this case, Mel. Mel, remember, that is not how you score points in TSL. Please make sure to watch yourself for the rest of the fight. So that gives you a quick recap of how that exchange goes down. Are my fighters ready? And fight. Hold. All right.
He can call whatever he
Okay.
wants.
Yeah, he calls what he saw on the side. So this is when fighting gets very difficult, when those hits come in so fast. Our rules in TSL are essentially written to give your offense a chance. We are written for this to be an offensive scenario. Our line judge is showing the red baton over the top, and he's showing the blue baton where he saw that hit. So he saw the red fighter hit the shoulder for a point. Being on this side of the fight, where I can also see the camera, I can see that our green fighter, or blue fighter in this case, hit at the same time, right? I only heard one solid thump. He saw the point on that side, so I know it was good. I saw the point on this side, and we can call a simultaneous. They both hit at the same time. It was too close to be able to call, so no point is rewarded, and that's your first simultaneous of the round. Remember, in our fights, after you get two simultaneous hits, the third simultaneous hit and beyond, both fighters lose a point from their score until one fighter reaches 0. If one fighter is at 0, nobody loses a point.
Yeah, and this is a really important point, because as line judges, sometimes you can feel like, oh man, why isn't the director seeing me? Or why don't they think the same thing I'm seeing? So it's important to see this, because basically what Aaron just described is perspective. And so it's one of the things we talk about in training for the CLJ program, the Certified Line Judging Program, is you can only see from your vantage point. So don't worry about what the director is calling. They're going to take all of the opinions together to decide what the point is. You just worry about what you're doing.
Absolutely. And that's another great reason why I mentioned earlier why we have you look down, because then you never question what you're calling. You just go down and call it, right? So that's a wonderful thing to do. All right, are my fighters ready? And fight. Hold. All right, now on blurry camera, it's a lot to see what's going on. Notice on our sideline, our line judge did not clearly see any points scored. So he is holding both of his batons down with his head down. I called a hold, but he saw nothing that was a valid hit that was hold. The reason I called a hold is at the very end, from my vantage point, as our red fighter Jared ran in front of Mel, it looked like Mel swung behind and was able to hit the top of the back, which is an armored point. So I saw a point given to Mel. Now, we only have one line judge. This is a reason we have 4. I would look at all 4 line judges and see if somebody else also saw that back hit, or if it's something that I'm just making up in my mind because I assumed that it would hit, right? But I didn't really actually see it. So knowing from his vantage point there was none scored, I would look at the rest of the line judges, see if they offered a score as well, tally up the batons, and if I saw, I would call the point. In this case, since there's only one line judge and me, I would call a point for Mel. But notice what this is about is the line judging. Our line judge did not see a point. Batons down, looking down. That's the appropriate call.
All right, come on up, buddy. We're just going to do a quick review. All right, right there. Okay. Red points to the head. All right. Blue points to the elbow. Good. All right. Illegal shot. Simultaneous. You ain't seen nothing.
Absolutely. Those are the actions with the batons that we expect you to know. Yay! Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So those are the actions with the batons we expect you to know as a line judge and be familiar with. Like I said, beyond that, one of the best things that you can do is read the rules and be familiar with what actually scores a point and what does not score a point before you enter the ring or before you sign up to line judge. It will just make it a better experience all the way around. All right, so Ike said during that, so the quicker and cleaner the strike, the more points you can get. Yes, absolutely. A nice, clean, very obvious strike is usually what's called. We're all human beings, and our brains and our eyes can only pick up so much movement and things that happen. So if you can make it very obvious, very clean, those are the points that are called most often. A lot of times we will look back on videos that we are taking, and the director and the people on the sides did not necessarily make the right call. Somebody may have scored the other point faster, but it was just a super quick jerking motion where the other person had a nice, big, very obvious motion that scored. And we're all humans, and that happens. So it's very important to note, back on the sportsmanship side of things, in concern of scoring points, that what happens in the ring is not necessarily a 100% accurate representation of what actually happened during the fight. It is merely a representation of what the judges saw that day, right? And that's just the operation of how we do that in TSL sports rules.
Agreed. Until we are at a point where we can get armor that would light up upon impact and things of that nature, and everybody had it, then we're never going to be probably 100% accurate, just because of human nature. But we all go to these everyman tournaments because of the community, the ability to meet people in places that we would never ever, in our life normally be able to meet people, right? It brings people together from all different walks of life, and it unifies them together under the Saber Legion. And being a line judge is actually really necessary, because to run a single pool, let's pretend that your pool has just 5 fighters. Let's say it's a full pool, right? 5 fighters. And to be a match that's within regulations, you have to have 4 line judges, right? So we're up to 9, and then you call in a director. And oftentimes we have 2, right? Yeah, 2 directors, right? Because if it's from your home charter, you don't necessarily want to have to direct for them unless it's like an emergency or something, right? Because it puts you in a weird spot, right? What are we up to? Are we up to like 12? Math's not my strong point.
And we haven't thrown the table in yet.
Right. And then you got the scorekeeper and the timekeeper. So we're up to 14 people that's required per ring for a full pool. So for every pool at a national event, for each ring, right, then we need 14 people. 2, and only 2 of those are fighters. So 12 people to staff it and certify that event. That's a lot. So it's really important that people step up and do their line judging time, volunteer whenever possible, go ahead, review these rules so you feel more confident. But, just come into some of the other tournaments on days where you're not volunteering and just watch the matches and see what's happening. It'll make you feel more confident. And we also are having a workshop on Thursday. So if you go on Thursday, I think it's 2 p.m. in our main room at CombatCon, we're actually doing a workshop on how to line judge. So if you come to the workshop, we'll work with you even individually if you need to, and make sure that you feel more confident about coming into the ring and line judging.
Absolutely. And also remember, line judging also helps improve your experience of being a fighter as well, especially at tournament events, because you get a hands-on experience of what it's like to be the judge, how difficult it is sometimes to make these calls. And you just have to go with your gut. I saw this. Just have confidence in what you're doing. Make the call, look down. If you throw your baton up and you're looking down and the director does not call for a hold, go ahead and put your baton down and continue watching the match. It just means the director doesn't believe exactly what you saw, but don't feel like you made a bad call. You think you saw something, throw it up and look down, right? Wait for them to call that hold. If they don't call the hold, look back up and continue to watch. So
yes, absolutely. So like Ike had said, so wow, so fighters get to judge as well. Cool. I think it is cool, because I've always gone to events and I feel that when you are participating and helping, you actually have a better time, because you just get an opportunity to really meet more people in a real way, not just like, oh, hi, oh, what tribe are you from? Oh, how's the weather? Like you're having deeper conversations because you're really working together to accomplish a goal together. And so you're going to make connections with people in the ring and outside of the ring working together, more than if you just came down, fought your fight, and went back up to your hotel room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, right? TSL, we're a volunteer organization, and it's about building that community. So when we have events like this, they are community driven. They're volunteer driven. So while we can do the organization and we can have, the certified directors ready to go and we can have a media team ready to film, we can't have a match in the way our rule sets are written without those line judges. And we get those line judges from you guys, from our community. So, I mean, really, while we do the organizing and everything's set up, or in this case, the council and the team are doing the organizing and the setup, I just get to play. But all this organizing and setup happens, but the event does not go off as the quality of events that we've been able to give every year without our members' help. So you guys are really what make these events what they are. So
yes. Absolutely. I think that it's going to be a great event, and people have questions about that. They're, make comments here. We can always look back at, this live stream and answer your questions. Come to the workshop on Sunday so that we can work with you hands-on. There are two or three other events that are happening this year, and all of those events also require line judges and teams. So the skills that you learn at CombatCon at that workshop can transfer to, working at Bladetoberfest, working at the Mexico tournament that they're having, which I can't pronounce well, and because it's me. And then we are working on having Sun Crusher this year in Florida as well. Hopefully, we haven't done a formal application, but we are doing that hopefully Veterans Day weekend in Florida. So lots of events that you can transfer the knowledge that you're doing here and you're practicing for line judging to these other events. Because I would recommend it at all events. And all of them need line judges all the time.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things I think you can do if your charters are starting to meet, or once TSL5 is over and you start being able to go to charter meets again, I highly recommend at charter meets running at least a couple rounds, sort of like you see at the tournament events. Even if it's just to get the line judging experience, it's okay if there's no one in your charter who wants to direct. You don't even necessarily have to call the holds in between, but as people are sparring and fighting, just learning to call what you see, right? Get yourself, you don't even have to have batons, but in your head, my right hand's the blue fighter and the red fighter, and just assign those colors to somebody and just get used to like saying, I saw him hit here, I saw him hit there, just so you're comfortable with it. That's just great things to do. I know I do that a lot when I travel around to the different charters and I watch people fight. I just internally call what I saw on points just to stay in practice, right?
Yes, absolutely. The one thing I did want to talk about that Jared was doing the example, and I think it's a new part of the new rule set. Maybe it's version 2.0 or maybe 2.0B. I'm pretty sure 2.0, but a lot of people don't think about it, is when the director's in the ring and somebody has a shot, like we talked about, like when I stabbed, Jared thrusted him in the stomach. If he had countered almost like at the simultaneous point, like with another actual point, one of the things that we've written in is upon director's discretion, if somebody does something like that, that's an unscorable area because it's a groin shot or a thrust to their stomach, but they actually made an actual hit, like something that we would normally give a point to, that we can still actually award that point.
Absolutely. Yep, we can negate the blue fighter's point because they hit in the stomach, but the red fighter is awarded the point then instead of calling it like a simo. Yep. And I believe that was 2.0 when that was written before 2.0B. I'm almost positive.
Yeah. So I think that that's been like a great update and modification, because sometimes when you're directing in the ring, you don't always remember all the time to like do the warning, the yellow card, and yellow card actually has a penalty that often it's forgotten to do, because yellow card actually says in the rule set, when someone receives a yellow card, that the opponent is supposed to actually the person who received the yellow card is actually supposed to, or the opponent just gets a point. So, but oftentimes, everything in the ring we forget, but an invalid shot is something that directors always call. And, if there was a actual legitimate shot that happened right at the same time, instead of it being a simul, and just being like, oh, nobody gets a point, even though this one was obviously, I think that's what it is. If it's a simul, but one of them was to an illegal spot, then that point is invalid, and we reward the person who had the control to not hit someone in the jump.
Absolutely.
I have small children.
No, I got you. We all know what you're talking about.
Yes, Seth says it also encourages more precise strikes and safety by negating the invalid shot. Absolutely. Yeah, we obviously want safety first here, right? That's why we wear armor. We're not like one of the people who are just running around, no armor, no gloves, no helmet, and hitting each other as hard as we can like they're baseball bats. Like, that's just not what we're doing here, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also like the point, I missed it, but Seth mentioned a little while ago where he says it's actually a lot of fun volunteering for the matches. That way you can see the event succeed as a contributor rather than just being a spectator. And I completely agree. That's what I think the community of volunteerism really, really offers, is you get to be a part of the event, not just an attendee or a spectator at the event.
Yes, and actually, I just posted into the leadership chat and group that we have, and hopefully we'll have approval to release before TSL5, actually, hopefully right before TSL5, where the certified line judging program has always been a paper-based test where you had to like download it and you had to like fill out your hours and then you had to answer a question-based test that's about the rules, like that you actually know what they are. So I transformed it now into an automated quiz through Google Forms. And so when you take the quiz portion online, you actually get an immediate response of how well you did on the test. And then you just take a picture of your hours, of your experience hours, and upload them together. And that way it just makes the whole process way faster.
Yeah, that's awesome to see that going that way, because line judges are absolutely, the bread and butter of what we do. We need 4 line judges at every ring, at every time, at any event, at any tournament. So having people certified, knowing that they're ready to line judge and excited to volunteer and help see TSL events succeed, anything to make that better. I'm excited. I'm excited to see that program progress. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, and patches, because you get a patch.
Absolutely. Yep. And we all love patches in TSL. That has definitely become a very big part of our culture. So
right, where's my Tony Safiati with patches?
Absolutely. So
yeah.
I asked for age requirements, and Seth replied with 18 plus, and I asked for fighters and judges. So in our rules, the way they are written, to fight in any of these actual tournament matches, you do have to be 18 plus. There's partly for insurance reasons, medical reasons. We give away prizes, so there's legal reasons as far as that go. It's the same reason, a 16-year-old can't win $1 million, but they can win like a scholarship, right? Type of an idea. There's all these different ins and outs when it becomes with somebody who is not over 18 years of age. That is not a hurdle that TSL has been able to overcome at this point as far as these big tournaments goes. Now, as far as that's for fighters. Now, as far as judges go, we very often have judges who have proven themselves and have come to their meets who are not 18 years of age. People's kids and friends come and they learn the rules. They'll line judge it for us, so they'll run the table in time for us. So as far as running the table and learning to be a line judge itself, that is not an 18 and older requirement. It is just an 18 and older requirement to fight, the way it's written in our rules in today's. So that is a great question to ask about both fighting and judging and separating the age, but absolutely 18 plus if you're going to get in and fight in any of these events, but you do not have to be 18 in order to be a judge to help with the success of the event and volunteer.
That's a really good point, actually. I've never thought about, but yeah, I mean, our son, as you saw, actually is a very good line judge. He knows everything. He could actually train people on how to do it, but he's 11, so he has a couple of years before he can be in the ring. Yep. And actually, he was part of the Florida Cup and helped do the live stream of the finale. So, I mean, we are definitely usually a very family-friendly place, and so yeah, if you have a kid who wants to do some other things, as long as they feel confident, they've been trained. I mean, like I said, Gavin's been doing this for like 2 years, so it definitely takes some time. But, holding the timer or stuff like that is definitely a way that they could participate, especially at a local meet. I think at a local meet, you can actually train with 16 and up, maybe? I shouldn't say it.
Yeah, actually, at the local meet, it's a lot more flexible as long as you have gear that fits younger fighters and the younger fighters are willing to go there. There are no rules inside of TSL that says that a younger fighter can't participate. The only rule we have is that if a younger fighter is participating at charter meets, their parents or their legal guardian has to be in attendance with them, because technically from a legal standpoint, like even if they, even unrelated, they just happen to be at the park, right, and they scratch their hand on a tree, we technically can't even give them a Band-Aid because we are not in charge of the medical decisions for that person because they're not 18. Right? So we ask that those parents, they have to stay in attendance the entire time, or the legal guardian of that child. So somebody who is under 18 can come and play at a charter meet as long as they still meet all of our other guidelines. You have to have good fitting gear. They have to wear the mask. They have to wear the gloves. All of those things still apply to them, but they are able to participate at the charter meets. And of course, the exact specifics are at the discretion of our charter reps. There are boots on the ground for each individual charter. So as far as that goes, definitely listen to your charter reps because they are in charge of making sure that those meets stay safe and to the standards for your individual charters.
Yep, absolutely. All right, last question that I wrote down. How do you calculate points between 4 line judges and a director? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm asking like I'm interviewing you.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to leave that one to you because you have more of the 1.45 and all that math and everything. I don't get that specific with it in my head, but it's the same thing. You just talk to it better than I do.
Okay, so you have 4 line judges, right? 2 call red and 2 call blue in the ring. And so we would say split decision. And then you say what the director says, right? So as a director in the ring director, not just national directors, counselors, CITs, all of us, whoever it is, ring director, the ring director gets a 1.5 vote, okay? So basically, if you even had 3 line judges who said blue, but you saw red and you're the ring director, you're the ultimate authority, and you have another judge who confirms with you, then technically speaking, you're supposed to call the 3 because mathematically those 3 sets of eyes, right, outweigh your points. So in general, you're supposed to go with your line judges mathematically in the ring. Now, directors can also veto those, right? But I always think about it like this. I would literally walk up to all of my line judges and be like, nope, sorry, I had a better vantage point. My eyes are better and I'm just super close. I saw it, whatever. All of you are wrong and I am right. So I'm going to go with what I said. Now, that doesn't happen very often, obviously, but it does happen. And it can happen because it's within the director's purview.
Absolutely. That's one thing to remember is the way our rules are written, the director is actually the only person who can award a point. So the director at the end of the day is there to make the decision of what happened and what was called. And the line judges are there to help assist the director in that, because even a director running around the ring where the line judge stays on their individual side of the ring can only see that side. My perspective can't clearly see the other side about what's hitting. So the line judges are there to help inform the director. So the director always has final decision. So, but like Mel said, the idea and the goal is, we trust our line judges and our line judges are there and we do like a math. You just add it up. What do we see? And we award the point that's saying. But every now and then, there's just something that everybody missed because we're all human. And somebody has a great big over-the-top swing with a jump in the air. And it's this huge, beautiful flourish that smashes somebody on the shoulder. So it hits the plastic part of the armor and makes a big, loud boom. And, that drew everybody's attention. So all the line judges threw up that point. However, as the director watching the fight, I happen to see that as that person is in the air, the other person comes up underneath and maybe hits their forearm or elbow with just a little tiny little boop type of an idea. And even though they all called that great, big, beautiful, super exciting jump up in the air fanfare hit, I saw that little hit underneath. Well, very way ahead of when that other one hit, right? There's almost a whole second before bam. But everybody else saw the big exciting hit because it draws their attention, and we're animals, right? We're humans. We are drawn to that type of a thing. We were survivors for many years through our evolution, and our eyes as basically predatory setup eyes are designed to track motion. So a lot of times those big moves are what we instinctively watch, right? So it's all about that little point. So every now and then the director absolutely will say we have 4 batons for blue, but I clearly saw red underneath the larger hit before the other hit. Point goes to red. right? You will hear that from time to time, but like she said, it's a rare occasion.
Yeah, Seth, you are right. That's what I did say. Yes, the director does get like 1.5 votes. Yes, so we outranked the line judges by a half.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. So this just happens, but and I think that it is a really fair point to say that also, like directors, part of the directing program. So in the CIT program, one of the lessons that we focus on towards the end of their training is actually something called binocular vision. Where you actually train your eyes. Like some people are just blessed with naturally, binocular vision, which is great. Awesome. Also me. But other people have other people have to actually train their eyes, right? Because when you're in the ring, people always say, as a line judge, what should I try to do? And I say, try to see the middle. Right? Like try to see the middle, right? Like you can't focus on one fighter or the other fighter. If you just follow one fighter, you're going to miss what this fighter is doing over here, right? So you have to kind of like look in the middle to really see the entire thing. And that's hard to do, but line judges have this perspective where they should be able to actually see, more of the ring because they're pulled farther back, where most directors are much closer because we normally are in the ring traveling around with the fighters trying to get the best vantage point. So it is a hard situation. We're all doing our best, like you said, being human beings, but trying to use that binocular vision to see the middle, can really be helpful as you're training to become a line judge.
Absolutely. And just like fighting itself, like if you want to be a better fighter, sure, there are techniques you can learn and all that kind of stuff from the different live streams or from YouTube videos or from going to classes. There are absolutely techniques and concepts that you can learn from there. But at the end of the day, if you really want to get better at something, you get better by doing it. If you want to be a better fighter at TSL, fight more TSL fights, right? Same thing. If you want to be a better judge more fights. Train your eyes to really see what's going on. And that's just the way to do it. The more you judge, the more you direct, the better your calls will be because you'll see it more often.
Absolutely. Okay. Everybody's laughing and stuff. I'm like, okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So remove limb. Okay. So I don't think we have any more questions right now. I think I hit all of our notes. Oh, terminology. So give us 5 terms that you would use in the ring.
Absolutely. So the most common terms you're going to hear in the ring, in my attention, is fighters ready. You're going to hear pay respects, and then either to your fighter or to your judges, right? You're going to hear hold. You're going to hear fight or begin. Some of them have slightly different ones. I say fight, and I think that's the most common one, is fight and hold are our standard. And then from there, you're going to hear simultaneous. You're going to hear no points awarded. You'll hear us say something along the lines of, I cannot corroborate the point, or I don't have someone else. So even if I saw red hit underneath and everybody else, like we talked, had their batons down, that's going to show me that even though I saw red, I probably made it up, just like we were talking about. There was a big movement that I just assumed was going to hit, and that's why I called the hold, but not a single line judge can see it. There's a good chance that I'm going to say, you know what, my bad, cannot corroborate the point, no points awarded, fighters ready, and we'll begin the next round. And those are the most common things that you'll hear from me.
Yes, absolutely. I think, that's one of the most things that I think that people aren't sure about sometimes. It's like I say, I cannot confirm the point. Same deal. I can't confirm the point. And all that's really letting the fighters know in the ring is that I thought I saw something, like you said, either I thought I saw it or it was going to hit, and then no other line judge can. Or I thought I saw a red hit, but the other person who's corroborating with me is someone who says that they think blue hit first. And so I'll say, no, we can't confirm. We don't have 2 people who saw the same thing even. So we can't give any points here. So those are some of I think the most common terms. I'm trying to think of any other terms that you need to know as a ring. I think the most important term is hold.
Yep.
Oh, reset. So all the time people want to know why at 5 points. So some fighters walk in, hit, walk back, walk in, hit, walk back. And then when you have to switch sides, I think we can explain why those people do, but even if you're in with a fighter who moves around a lot, why that's still done.
Absolutely. So the big reason we want to switch point parts in the ring is we want to make sure that we have both sides of the fight scene. So even if you're in a fight that's running around, the vast majority of the time, the director in the ring kind of stays on one side of the fight. As they're running around the fight, they don't switch between the right and left side of the fight very often. They kind of stay on one side of the fight. So with the director staying essentially in the same corner, having you reset, the director at the very least will see the other side of the fight, right? We'll see your left side when they saw your right side for the first 5 points type of an idea. So it's always just about to try and keep everybody's eyes on a part of the fight as fairly as possible.
Yes. And then even if so, like I'm going to pick on two of my fighters that are rather bouncy. So Jared and Chris, Spidey Chris, if anybody knows him, they're both very animated fighters in the ring. So people all the time will say, you know, okay, I say, okay, guys, 5, switch sides, reset. And I'll say reset more often now, especially with them, because I know they're not really switching sides. They've already switched sides several times at this point. What we're really doing is taking a moment to reset to those corners, to re-begin like the beginning of the match, and to, in theory, yes, switch sides, even if you have people who've moved around a lot.
Absolutely. It's an absolute perfect mental break in the middle as well, because when you reset, you are expected to go back to a corner, and it's the opposite corner of the one you started it in. So, and reset is the actual terminology in the rules. But like I said, we're all human, and everybody might have a tiny little bit of different vernacular. Like I say corroborate, she says confirm. I generally say switch sides, she'll say reset, but it all means the same thing. And if you understand how the flow of the fight's supposed to go by reading the rules, it's really simple to know what we're talking about. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Tony says he loves us both.
We love all of TSL, and we love you too, Tony.
All right. So, well, I think we've done a really good job giving an overview of line judging, directing, terminology in the ring. I mean, I think this is probably one of the most biggest discussions that we've had about directing and line judging, all of those things before a national tournament.
Absolutely. This whole Road to CombatCon thing that you guys have put together and are putting out this year is fantastic. It's definitely the most involved that we've done. At TSL4, I had a couple of videos going over the rules and things for people, but nothing this in depth. I mean, this has been fantastic. The only other last thing that I would offer to people just to keep in their heads and mind, and this falls sort of under the sportsmanship and the understanding of rules, is we definitely don't award points for the fingers themselves, but we do for the back of the hands. And a lot of times, because our blades are bendy, when you're fighting, you'll feel the impact clearly on your fingers is where it hits. But our blades are bendy, and you won't feel it because we wear this great armor protection on the back of our hands, and most people put their forearms, because that bending slap hits so many people and you get those welts. People armor up that part of their body, and when the whip happens, it doesn't hit as hard. But absolutely, that's what people are calling when they see it most of the time. So just understand that a lot of times when you felt fingers, it most likely hit somewhere else too. So then that, I just know that's a big point of contention after every single TSL when we ask for people's feedback. That's always a point of contention. Too many finger hits called, too many finger hits called, too many finger hits called. And that's just something that that's just keep that in mind, that we have those bendy blades, and a lot of times you'll feel the impact one place, but it will actually hit more than one location.
And that is true, because now we've changed up in the 2.0B rule set. I think this is a Mark Carrico idea, was we changed the hilt measurement to being a max length of 16, and then the blade length to equal 51. And so now we've changed it so that you can have a shorter hilt length to allow for our sponsors and vendors to provide more flexible ideas of hilts and different ideas and models that would support different fighters. But then you can also have a longer actual saber so that you can still max out to 51 inches.
Absolutely.
But we know that will cause a slight increase in the whip factor.
In that bendiness. So it's just something to keep in mind. Seth also asked while we were talking, and it might be good to review the starting distance for fighters. Basically, the starting distance for fighters is for you to set up at a distance where you cannot easily strike the other person without a movement, right? You can't just reach your hand out and you hit them. We always want to be there enough distance that somebody has to actually make a move towards the other person to hit. And remember, when a hold is called in the ring, generally you can just hold your position in the ring. You're not expected to go back to your starting corners in the standards match. In exotics match, because we have the longer weapons, every time a hold is called, we do expect you to go back to your corners just for safety reasons, so we're not so close to one another.
Yes. So a standard Saber, you do not have to reset to your corners each time. Although I know it's tradition in a lot of martial arts, so people are used to doing that. In our rule set, you don't have to do that. So I know at national tournament, sometimes when you get people who you've never fought and they don't fight in your charter, and maybe they're used to always resetting because that is what they practice, they get in a ring with someone who's not resetting, and there's a little bit of confusion about why that is.
Yep. And in our rules, that reset is only mandatory for exotics weapons because, again, we allow such longer weapons. We want to make sure that you start far enough away from each other that nobody's getting any kind of an advantage with this huge long weapon, right? So, but the rest of the time, that starting distance is just expected for you guys to be far enough apart that nobody's in somebody's threat zone, as it were. But you can stay right where the hold was called. Just call back up enough that nobody's in the danger area, and then you just start again from that position in the ring.
Yes. Really good question, Seth. So
absolutely.
Thank you. So, all right. Well, I think we've been on for an hour, and this has been a great talk. And, you know, if you guys don't know, Aaron was always the very first fight director, and then he invited me to be the second ever, and he is my mentor and one of my best friends. And so I'm incredibly excited to see you in a month.
I'm so excited to see you guys too, to see so many of these people, because I've been doing this since TSL was an idea, right? It didn't actually even have a name yet. It was just an idea, some people on the inside. So all these people that I've met throughout the last 7+ years at this point, even though we had a year off, right? I met you all back then. So the last 7+ years, I'm just so excited to see everybody in person. You know, just everybody, please just be safe, you know, be healthy. And yeah, I'm excited to see everyone again.
Absolutely. All right, guys. United through Sabers.
United through Sabers. Love you.